Vancouver Startup Week team, I want to just take a moment to acknowledge that we're grateful to be virtually gathered on Indigenous land, regardless of where you're joining us from today. I'm grateful to be on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territory of the Musqueam, Tsleil-Waututh, and Squamish people. I'm privileged to live, work, and play on these lands. First off, I'd like to thank you for joining us for this session on VSW 2021, and welcome to Fireside Chat with Reuben, co-founder of, I may say this incorrectly, UWI TWINS Fashion Label, hosted by Futurpreneur Canada. This session is part of the VSW Founder Track and is proudly supported by Sage Accounting. Sage knows you didn't start your business to become an accountant, and they keep your business organized and running smoothly. Track your cash flow, send out invoices, and get paid quickly. Visit Sage Accounting's booth to access free guides and templates for starting your business finances the right way, and get an exclusive VSW discount if you're ready to switch from Excel. I also want to take a moment to thank Futurpreneur Canada for being our event partner, but also being a sponsor. VSW could not happen without the continuous support of our community sponsors. During this session, if you have any questions for our speakers, please post them in the Q&A in the Whova platform. You can upvote your questions to bring them up higher, and we'll ask them during the Q&A portion of the session. Without further ado, I'm going to pass the microphone over to Mina and Reuben. Over to you.
Thank you so much. Well, thank you everyone for joining us today. We are super excited to come to you with 3 events sponsored by Futurpreneur today, or hosted by Futurpreneur today. I'm just going to give you a quick introduction of myself and Futurpreneur, and then I'll pass it over to Reuben. We are here today to hear from him, not from me. My name is Mina. I am a business development manager with Futurpreneur Canada. For those of you who don't know us, we are a national nonprofit organization, and we have a mandate to support young entrepreneurs. We work with those between ages of 18 to 39 who are starting their businesses. And our core program is a loan and mentorship. So you get to apply for a loan for up to $60,000. And if you get approved for that loan, you also get matched with your own volunteer business mentor. Futurpreneur also offers a whole host of business planning support services and resources. We have workshops, Rock My Business series. We do webinars on a weekly basis. And we also have an entrepreneur residence program. And you get to speak with one person, one-on-one, and discuss your business plan, figure out how to proceed with your startup. So today, we have, as I mentioned, we're hosting 3 events throughout the day. This is our first one. I'm super excited to kick it off for Futurpreneur events, but we have another event at 1 p.m. and then another one at 2:30. I will confirm that one with you. And we've tried to be, bring into you entrepreneurs from different backgrounds, different types of businesses, and, give you a taste of everything. For me, I invited Reuben to my event today because we've noticed the rise in entrepreneurship with young people. And during the past year and a half, we've seen the rise in entrepreneurship for many reasons, and COVID is definitely one of the reasons, I'm assuming, for that rise. It can't be just a coincidence. But we've also noticed a lot of young entrepreneurs who are thinking about starting their own apparel business, fashion design, whether it's casual loungewear or it's limited edition designs. We've seen a lot of that. And for that reason, I thought it would be very fitting to invite Reuben here today to tell us about his experience starting his business. He did his business many years ago. He'll tell his story, but get your questions ready. I have a whole lot of questions. I have questions for us to get to know Reuben, but I also have questions based on what I hear from young entrepreneurs who want to start their businesses. But then we can pause at any point with my questions and go to the audience question. So the format today will start with the presentation from Reuben, and then after that, we'll go through my questions and then any questions from the audience. Again, thank you so much for joining us. And Reuben, please take it away.
Thank you. Appreciate you having me here. Thanks for inviting me, Mina. I've known you for a few years now, more than a few years. You were the first person that I spoke to at Futurpreneur when it was once called CYBF at the time. So I've seen all the changes and really excited to be here. So yeah, we can kick it off. So again, my name is Reuben. I am a co-founder of the clothing brand called UWI TWINS Fashion Label. So UWI is my brother and I's last name. So started the company with my twin brother, Levi. So it's Reuben and Levi. And so we decided to name our clothing brand UWI TWINS Fashion Label. And the brand is really a men and women's wear line, really inspired by our story from where we come from. Just a little bit of background, my brother and I were born in Rwanda. Unfortunately, we went through the genocide that happened there. And so the brand is really about never giving up, no matter what your circumstances and everything you've been through. So we just wanted to tell our story through the different garments that we create. So we launched back in 2013. And I think, Mina, you were actually at the first fashion show that we had at Vancouver Fashion Week. And
I was. I remember like coming to that fashion show. It was so busy that I didn't even get to actually meet you that time. I showed up, but you were so popular. I didn't meet you that day.
Yeah, so that was definitely a great experience to get the brand launched. And from there, we created the business plan, and luckily, we got some funding through Futurpreneur, and we were able to get things rolling. So like I was mentioning, the brand is really my brother and I. We tell the story of us coming from Africa. We tell the story in terms of the different richness of Africa and what inspires us and what we think is going to be really cool and hip and trending moving forward. So we really just try and do what's fun for us. And growing up, Levi and I, we were always really into fashion. So we thought it would be cool to express ourselves through a clothing brand. Just to give you a bit of a background, before we did start the UWI TWINS Fashion Label, we were in the fashion industry prior to that as well. We had another brand called RMU Styles at the time, which we started right after high school. So that was in 2006. So that's quite a few years back, which got our launch into the industry. And we were very successful with that brand as well, which was also carried by the Hudson's Bay at the time. So that really got our foot into the door and learning the industry in terms of creating a collection and delivering it to the end consumer. So yeah, like I was mentioning, our experience is pretty deep within the fashion industry. We've been doing this for over 13 years. We started with the brand just creating t-shirts. And from there, it really evolved to something bigger than us. And when we first launched in 2013 at Vancouver Fashion Week, that led us to be invited to New York Fashion Week. And from there, we did a few seasons presenting at New York. And we were also luckily invited to present at Paris Fashion Week. We did LA as well. And so we've had quite a few showings around the world, and I've had the pleasure of presenting our collections to different audiences. So I think you've already got a bit of a introduction to myself, who I am, and a bit of my background. My brother and I as well. Just going to go through these slides a little bit fast. But you know, my brother and I, we work very hands-on. You know, he likes to do a lot of the manufacturing side in terms of finding us the right suppliers, and also getting us in touch with the right distributors. And so I'm very lucky to have my brother as a co-founder and as a partner. And so it's definitely been a great experience building this business with them. So as I had touched on a little bit in terms of the brand itself, we have our brand manifesto, never give up no matter the circumstances you've been through, move past your experiences, use those good or bad experiences to propel you to the next level, express yourself, live your dreams really. And I think we speak to that, and we're really testament to that. We've been through quite a bit, starting the business itself, having to go through the steps of finding the right suppliers and finding the right connections, and really scaling the business to a level where we feel we can continue getting it in the right hands and really propel it to the next level as we move past the pandemic here. So I would say our signature piece would be our 1987 t-shirt. This is probably our best seller. This is the first design that we came up with. The t-shirt 1987 is the year my brother and I were born. The image itself is very symbolic in the fact that it was actually the last image that we took from Rwanda before we left. And so we really try to tell our story through clothing. This is one of the pieces that really showcase what we're trying to show to the world. So I think that's pretty much it. You can visit us on our website, UWITwinsFashion.com, or you can simply Google UWI Twins. Best way to remember how to spell or how to pronounce UWI is I like to say UWI, or like UWI in French. So that's how I would point it out if you would like to remember how to say our last name. And yeah, I really appreciate you having me here, Mina. It's been a very long time coming, and I'm really honored to have this time and share our experience since we started really together with this company.
Thank you so much, Reuben. I really appreciate the presentation. It's also a refresher for me because yeah, it has. We connected first back in 2013. And it's been a while. I was looking through your slides and I was like, and I was new at Futurpreneur back then too. So you were one of my first few clients during my first year. So it's awesome. Thank you for the presentation. I feel like a lot of the questions that I have, you touched on them, but I'm going to ask you to go a bit deeper if you can with some of them. So you did say that you cared for fashion, both of you and Levy, you cared about fashion and design, but when was it that you decided this can be a business or this is going to be your job? How did you come to that decision?
I think the turning point was really when your friends and family receive some of the first samples and they're very receptive to it. And when we launched the UWI Twins Fashion Label brand, we were already in the industry for a few years. So luckily from the learning that we had with the previous brand, it really got us to get up and running a little bit quicker with this brand. We made a lot of mistakes with the first brand. Not that we didn't make any mistakes with this one, but it really helped us to get going really quickly in terms of knowing what we wanted, in terms of the vision, what the business plan was going to be. And that's what I would say. In terms of getting going, I would say just being clear what your brand is going to be about and what the target market, the target market that you're going to be serving from the get-go. If you're clear about that, it usually helps.
Yeah, I'm going to show you something. I have my t-shirt. I was going to wear it. I love it. I decided not to wear it too much because I want to keep it. And today I was going to wear it. I was like, you'll probably wear your own brand. I'll wear VSW brand for today. But I love that design. It's an awesome design.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I guess in terms of the planning and actually starting a business, did you have any formal training, or did you have any formal business training or fashion training to get started with the brand?
As far as formal training in fashion, it was more of learn as you do, I would say. I think what we were more reliant on is the taste and our personal taste and what we felt would look nice and what we thought would be a product that would sell. And luckily, from the feedback that we got from friends and family, that was the case. In terms of formal training in business, I did go to Douglas College, and that's how we connected through the entrepreneurship program there. And so in terms of creating a business plan and coming up with financials and looking at the vision and the marketing plan and getting all that in order, going through the program at Douglas College on the business side really helped set up the business properly, I would say. But in terms of fashion, I would say that came a little bit more natural, as we just always felt like we knew that side a little bit better, just because we always like to dress good, and so we thought we can make the right designs. Yeah.
For sure. Awesome. I didn't have a question about business plan because I didn't want to make it about that, but I'm really happy that you really emphasize the importance of having that plan. And yes, Douglas College self-employment program, we still have a great relationship with them. A lot of successful businesses have come out of that program. So there's so much value in spending the time and coming up with the right plan.
Exactly. And that was, I think, the biggest difference to get us going to the next step, because you know, we already knew in terms of where we wanted to source the product, how we wanted to initially launch the brand, and had a few people in mind that we kind of wanted to get their attention. And so when you're clear in terms of what's going to be the budget for the first year and second year and third year, and if you're able to be clear on that, and you know, one thing is you have a business plan, okay, that's great, but the next step is really execution. And then as you're executing the plan, looking if you're on track, what needs to be tweaked, or what are we doing wrong or right, and then trying to adjust as you go. And it's more of a I would say of a blueprint guide, but you know, that guide always changes as things evolve within the market, as we've seen also this past year. We've had to change our business plan, and so
for sure. Yeah, it's a living document. It's not a document that you prepare and you put aside. It's definitely live. It evolves and it changes.
Yeah.
So again, experience with you and your brother was different, because most of the time I get someone who has an idea or has a plan, maybe has the samples that they've tested with friends and family, come to Futurpreneur, get funding, go and start your business.
Yeah.
You already had your own fashion show. So there was, I felt like this business already existed before you even came to us. Tell us about the steps to actually call the business operational and start the business? What are the steps that you take? 1, 2, 3, however many?
Yeah, so first step is, I would say, of course, coming up with a brand name that you feel is going to work. And then really work on what's going to be the brand feel, especially when it comes to fashion. Everything is about branding. And so working on that part, I feel is important. So we spent a lot of hours coming up with the name. It ended up being very simple. So sometimes it's, you know, the simple route is good, and what that name means to you, and how that would fit within the market. So that probably would be step one, I would say, when it comes to creating a brand or fashion line or clothing brand or clothing line. And then from there, you start thinking, okay, what are the products that I'm going to create? And we learned this really quickly is once you get going, if you're creating a big collection, all of a sudden there's all these SKUs. You know, you have a t-shirt or this jacket, it's you have 3 different colorways. Now that's 3 different SKUs. This t-shirt, 2 different colors, or you do different designs, that adds more SKUs. And then when you work with a manufacturer, that's minimum order of quantities. So from the beginning, I would say think about the products that you want to create for your clothing brand. So I would simplify it from the get-go, meaning if you're really starting out, start with anywhere from 1 to 5 products. So if it's a t-shirt or a dress or jeans, or you can just do 2, 1 or 2, just to test out the market. So you do, you come up with a very, very good design, I would say, by sketch, work with a graphic designer, and come up with what's going to be the first product or the first couple products that you're going to put up online. And you know, with how things are at the moment, you can really make your designs look photorealistic. So you can create that, you can make that brand, come up with the name, come up with the branding, the logos, the colors, come up with a great color palette for your company or your brand, and then come up with the first couple designs. And then with those designs, I would say, then put it up online and see how people are receiving it. With us at the time, what we did was, you know, and these were some of the mistakes we did do. We created a bigger collection that we should have, but those, you know, those were the learning curves that we went through. So we made, I believe it was 20 different looks, so 20 different items. So that would be 20 different SKUs, and we wanted to do different colorways. But we did the samples, and the way we really launched the brand is we made the samples of the collection. It was a men and women's wear line, which we still have, and we decided, in order to feel how is the market going to receive the pieces. So we made the samples and did the fashion show. And so from that fashion show, we were able to get a good feel of who likes which piece, who didn't like this, how did it actually look in reality. And then from there, you know, we got a few orders, which then was able to help us get up and running.
So you did emphasize branding a lot, and you did mention a graphic designer. Did you work with any other professionals in terms of your initial branding activities, or was it the 2 of you?
Yeah, so we always have a team of graphic designers and in-house designers that we have, that we come up with different designs, come up with different concepts as far as what the collection is. And so I think it's important to really leverage good talent if you're able to bring them on board.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess, again, think is it 8 years? Yeah. Think 8 years ago. Think 2013, your first year.
Yeah.
What was the scariest step out of all the things that you said, like locking down your name, coming up with your branding, coming up with designs, doing the fashion show? What was the one that actually scared you and what you were like?
I think the part that made it really real was when we finally got the money from Futurpreneur, and then we're like, okay, well, now we have to do what we said we're going to do. And the first step was really, because we had sourced out a manufacturer that we wanted to work with, and they were all the way in Hong Kong, but we wanted to take that extra step and go there and verify everything, make sure that the supply chain is going to be reliable as we scale. So the scariest part was probably getting the money, and then B, started executing on the plan and flying out to Hong Kong. That'd probably be the most scariest part, and being in a new place, meeting new people, and but it all turned out really well, and I think we were pretty well prepared prior to making that trip, which really helped us.
Fair enough. Did you, this is a bit private, feel free to share it or not. Did you have other funding other than Futurpreneur, or was it just Futurpreneur and like self-funded or investors? I don't remember that part.
Yeah, so luckily we've been able to keep the company private, I would say, which is usually something we've preferred to do versus getting other investors. Not that wouldn't be bad, but I think especially if we have a specific vision, sometimes that may get skewed if you have other people on board. So we've been able to scale the business with just putting in our own money. So my brother and I putting our own money, and then the funding that we got from Futurpreneur, and then just reinvesting the profits from the business. And then hopefully in the future, if we do need to scale further, then we can look at other avenues, but we like the way it is right now.
Cool.
Yeah.
Again, still thinking about that first year in business, and I'm sure there are a lot of examples, but what is that one thing that sticks out to you, the one thing that you're most proud of, that you can't believe, oh my God, I did that just 1 year in business?
Oh, wow. I think that would be probably when we did the pop-up shop, the summer of 2014, I believe. And that was when the first collection actually went up for sale. And we were in the Vancouver Sun in the province. And I was like, oh my God, that it's real, it's happening. And you got people coming into the pop-up shop saying, hey, I just read your article, I'm gonna come check you guys out. I'm like, oh wow, it worked. So that was pretty cool. And yeah, that was a very good indication of things that are starting to pick up.
Yeah. Was there any moments that you were super scared? Because it's a competitive industry. There's a lot of big names, and there's a lot of, I think that the ones that are at your level are more scary because there's a lot of smaller brands too. Did you ever have a hesitation about that? Oh, it's too scary. Are we doing this? Are we not?
I think, yeah, you're always scared when you got money on the line, and it's your own money, and a portion of it is borrowed and you have to pay it back. So that's usually always scary. But I think with us, we were always driven by, I would say like more of a higher purpose, in the sense that we felt like we just wanted to get our message out, and no matter what, we were going to get this done. No matter what, we were just going to share our vision, and we were very passionate, still passionate about this brand, and really just expressing ourselves through the creativity that the fashion allows us to really express ourselves. And so with us, it sounds maybe cliche to say, but it's never really been about the money or the profit. It's really just been trying to maybe uplift the next designer or the next person that's coming from the same circumstances that we've gone through, and hopefully with us just sharing our story and persevering through the different steps and the journey that we've been through, that somebody else could do it.
I think that's a good segue to some of the other questions that I had. Again, they're personal. Feel free to share as much as you'd like.
Yeah.
So let's talk about starting a business as a Black entrepreneur.
Yeah.
What was it like? Like, was there things that you noticed that were made more difficult for you than other people? How was that?
I wouldn't say necessarily as a Black entrepreneur, I faced any hurdles, just because Vancouver has always been open, and the fashion industry is very open to everyone and anyone from different backgrounds. But, maybe I would say, how specific brands are perceived, if they're going to call our brand an urban brand, or trying to categorize it differently than any other brand, then that would determine the price points, I would say, of if this is a luxury brand or a lower tier brand, or and so with us, I think we were just trying to position our branding in a way that it would be open to anyone, and it would be seen as a brand that anyone could feel good wearing, and that they could relate to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But do you think, so I'm really happy to hear that. I'm really happy to hear that your experience in Vancouver in that industry, it wasn't something that you felt like it was people were holding you back just because you were a Black person starting a fashion brand. I'm happy to hear that, but there's been a lot of changes too. And I mean, I'd like to believe that the world and the business world is going in the right direction, but what is your perception with all the, we do see more support for Black entrepreneurs. Futurpreneur announced our Black Entrepreneur Startup program back in April. We're very committed. We're very proud of that program.
Yeah.
But there's a lot more support other places too. Do you see that in a positive light? Do you think we're going the right direction?
I think Futurpreneur is definitely taking the right steps, with your recent partnership with RBC and BDC. Is BDC part of the partnership as well? Okay, yeah. I think it's definitely a huge step that, you have taken. In terms of, I would say in fashion, like I look at the history in fashion. Let's say how, for example, Baby Fat, the brand, is perceived, or the Sean John line or the Rockaware brand. These are brands that were started by Black entrepreneurs, and sometimes they may be perceived different than other brands. And so I think that may be the only challenge that I would see within the fashion industry. Because when they start categorizing a specific brand as urban, then all of a sudden it's not maybe perceived as luxury. So that's the only thing I would say on that point when it comes to that. But I think things have evolved as, you know, there's, you know, you got you got brands like Off-White, you know, that have really changed the narrative, and I think also Kanye West having started his brand has also changed the perception of Black entrepreneurs and how their brands are perceived. So that's the only thing I would say when it comes to fashion. In terms of starting a business as a Black entrepreneur, I didn't find any hurdles. There's definitely you hear these stories that are happening in the States. You know, I've heard stories from different people, and it's really something that I think is good that you know, everyone's talking about it with all the events that have happened last year and recently. I think we're definitely moving in the right steps, and I was really happy to see Futurpreneur, you know, put their money where their mouth is when it comes to these things, and I think it's definitely going to help a lot of young entrepreneurs who really need it moving forward.
Thank you. Yeah, and going on the same theme of like more about you and inspiring other people, what is it like to start a business with a family member? I mean, you all were twin brothers, so it's different. It's not just any family member, but what are some of the dynamics? What is it like to start a business that way?
Yeah, the dynamics are very, I would say, we're very close. My brother and I are very close, and so when you're close to anyone, no matter if it's your friend or parent or like sibling, you're gonna have those clashes. So it's not like we're perfect partners in terms of never disagreeing. It happens a lot. But what I would say is, you know, I trust him and he trusts me. If he sees something that I'm not seeing and he articulates that very vividly, then I am going to trust him in that decision, and I'm going to follow him in that decision. So I think more than anything, when you go into business, I would really say that's probably the biggest lesson, is picking the right person to go into business with. It's very important, just because you never know how things may happen. And I think the best way to know somebody is if you go through difficult moments together and you see how they are in those moments, and that really shows you that this could be something that could work on a long-term basis. And so with my brother and I, we're, you know, he does certain things good, I do certain things better, and so we just split tasks, and we're able to manage the business in a way that you know, that keeps both of us happy. But we definitely do have those back and forth if we're designing a collection and he wants to go in a specific color route or specific pattern for design, and we try and compromise sometimes. So that's good.
Was one of you more into starting this business, or did one of you have to convince the other one, or were you like in sync in the decision to start a fashion label?
I think I was a little bit more, hey, let's do this, you know, and I bugged Levy for a few days. I'm like, what do you think? Like, I think we have something here, and you know, it takes time to kind of process it, and after he was on board, from there we just started working on things, and yeah, that's probably, I think that's how it went. I said, hey, let's start this brand. We can call it UWI Twins or something. I don't remember what it is that I was coming up with, and it took a few weeks to finally have him on board, but now we're here.
Fair enough. Awesome. I know we had a couple of questions that came through. The good questions. They're actually questions about moving forward. The first one is, what's your growth vision for UWI Twins Fashion? What's next?
Yeah, so our growth vision right now is really coming up with a collection that we're going to be able to present in a way artistically that speaks to us, and hopefully that could be well received by everyone. And so what's next is really trying to get the brand on TV, I would say, and really trying to get it more known within that realm. And I think with COVID, it kind of put some things on pause that we had. You may have seen the interview we did in Las Vegas last year on CBS Las Vegas. So that's sort of the bigger picture for us. We had a few things that were in play, and we just put it on pause. And so I think what's next is probably when things get back to normal, maybe you'll start seeing a lot more TV stuff from UWI Twins, and doing some cross promotions with different people on television.
I think it would be nice if you could explain a little bit about that again for people who are working on building their own brand in fashion. How do you secure these opportunities, media or partnership? How do they come to you? How do you?
Yeah, so I think, yeah, that's a great question. The best way I would say is find a good PR agency. So that's public relations. But a good PR agency doesn't come cheap. So that comes to the money part. So securing these partnerships, I would say, is very key to really try and get your brand cross promoted with another brand that has a similar target market as you. So I would say is try and build your brand to a point where you have a good online presence. It's aesthetically pleasing, that would match with another company that you're looking to partner up with, and really articulate how that partnership would look like. So in terms of what's really in it for them by partnering up with you, and then coming up with a really good story is really important, and how that ties in to their company or their brand in your apparel business or your brand as well. And so with us, we were very strategic in terms of hiring the right PR companies or the right PR people to get us connected with the media. And so writing a good press release, having a good story, and getting it in front of the right people. So having the right contact, the right email, the right phone number. It sounds all cliche and simple, but if you are able to get the right person who has the right connection with the right media, then they're more receptive to hear what you have to say. So if you know such and such person has a relationship with, let's say, I don't know, global news, or they have, or they've been in PR for a number of years, and they've done other placements for other companies in the Vancouver Sun or the province. Okay, then this person could most likely deliver the same results for us. So you want to reach out to those people who are professionals in the industry, and they would help you tailor and craft your story, your messaging, to put it in front of the right people that you're looking to get partnership with or trying to get media coverage from. And so we've been strategic in terms of hiring the right people, I would say, when it comes on the PR side, to help us get in front of the right people, I would say, and combine that with a good story, then it could start moving the needle.
That's a lot of good tips. Thank you. We've touched on most of the questions that I have. I know there is one other question that came from the audience, and it's actually a good question to close with, but we do have a few more minutes. So if anybody has questions, I encourage you to put it in the chat box or in the Q&A box. But this last question is there anything that you need help with right now? So Vancouver Startup Week is a huge community. They have a huge following. This past year, Vancouver Startup Week happened twice, because it's normally in September, and then this year got moved to May. So it happened pretty soon. What is it that the community can do for you? Follow you on Instagram, do things. What is it that this community can do for you to help you?
Yeah, I think really supporting each other is very important. So, just checking out our website on UWITwinsFashion.com. If there's anything you like, go ahead and shop. That's a great way of supporting any business, by showing them that you like their products. If you do, then support them through their online channels, by following us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and that's probably the only thing I would say. It's very refreshing to have such a great community. It's my first time presenting here at Vancouver Startup Week. I'm looking forward to being part of this community going forward, and supporting other entrepreneurs, and I'm definitely going to do my part in that as well, because I understand the challenges and the ups and downs. And so so just check us out on our Instagram page, go on our website. If there's anything you like, then get some
Quiet. Yes.
some swag.
No, this year more than any other year, we want to support more local businesses. We want to support more startups. It could be local Canadian, but local in BC, local in Vancouver. So that's a great reminder. I really appreciate that. And I don't see any other questions coming through right now. I do have one other question that just came to me that I'll ask you. You started an online business quite a few years back, and it's changed quite a bit. It's probably a lot easier now than before. How did you do that? I remember your pop-up, but you never had a physical space, and your brand was carried through other, like you mentioned, the Bay and all of those places. But how was that, starting an online brand back then?
Back then, that's really the only avenue that we had at the beginning, right? And so we had no choice but to go online before we started making connections with different retailers and on that end. And so I think we've always had that in place, and so we were lucky, you know, to have that experience already when everything kind of switched over to online the last year. I think with fashion though, there's always going to be an in-person connection that's always going to be needed, especially if people want to try on clothes. I know people still shop online, but there's always going to be that need for a personal touch. So in terms of things completely moving online, I think there's always just going to be a 60-40 or 50-50 split between the two worlds, and hopefully one day we can set up our own shop, and
Awesome.
when it makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. Was there anything, Reuben, on your mind that I didn't ask the right questions? Any comments, any other tips, anything else that you'd like to share with us today?
Not at the moment. I think we covered a lot. If there's any questions or anything from anyone that's watching right now, or any entrepreneur that has any questions for me directly, I'm very easily accessible on Instagram and on our UWI TWINS Instagram page. So my personal page as well, Reuben Styles or UWI TWINS Fashion. You can always find me or just send me an email. So I'm more than happy to share my experiences or give any other tips or connect you with anyone that you may feel that you may need to connect with. So I'm more than happy to make those connections as well.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for your time today. Thank you, Vancouver Startup Week, for giving us the time today to have this event. And I'll pass it over to Vancouver Startup Week for closing.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Reuben. Thank you, Mina. What a wonderful presentation. To anyone that's watching, be sure to reach out should you have any follow-up questions, if you are worried to ask a question live. Once again, thank you, Futurpreneur Canada, and thank you to our attendees for joining the session.